home, working and producing and doing everything from the vicinity of my
Exactly.
home. So couple of walks to the kitchen and eating, and couple of
That's
walks to
right.
the outside.
As an introvert, I actually don't mind it. I enjoy it. I get a lot done. Yes.
And
Great.
I heard from Dr. Zaini in the first week. It was actually second weeks, and she said, "I enjoy it. I love it." You know,
Yes.
like same
I'm
style,
still.
or you
I
want it
mean,
back to office?
I,
The-
I have my days that I get a little bit restless, but
Mhm.
overall, I'm enjoying being home because, as Foojan said, I'm able to produce a lot, learn a lot, read a lot, making content. So I'm constantly working and focusing. So in that case, it's been really nice. So
Very good.
I don't
And
mind it.
what about you, Dr. Zaini?
I love working from home. I do a lot of online therapy and coaching, and I think one of the things that is missing for me is that there's a element that happens, like we were saying, the intimacy that happens within a room when two people are sitting in a room and exchanging eye to eye conversation. And when I work with people, obviously, we work with a lot of deep, deep emotions, so it really helps them and me being in the same room. So I miss that part of the work, but just the comfortableness that anybody at any point they call me and they say, "Do you have time today?" And I don't have to be between offices, or the structures of driving. All of those are, I don't miss it. They're great.
Hmm.
But the
Hmm.
other piece that I miss is just being close to friends and socializing with friends. That piece I really do miss.
Very good, amazing. So, Coach Bonnie, what does it mean, intimate relationship?
Again, a very good question. Intimate relationship, as Dr. Zaini said it very nicely, we often, there is a connotation with intimacy that is sexual. However, I want to differentiate being intimate with someone and being lustful or passionate with someone. Yes, there's sometimes definitely chemistry between two people and it's only sexual. But intimacy, it's a lot more than just physical attraction. Uh, Two people need to be completely mentally and emotionally connected with each other in order to be intimate. How well they know each other, how well do they accept each other, how much do they know about their partner's interests and goals and dreams. And intimacy just doesn't happen. It happens over time when two people really get to know each other from all aspects of their lives, not just physically,
Mhm.
mentally, emotionally. They need to be intertwined together in order to have a lasting intimate relationship.
So, lots of things, intimate relationship is related to a lot of things. Uh, Trust, committed, uh, communication, and let's start with trust. Uh, are you okay, Dr. Zaini? Going
I
with the
think so.
trust? Okay. So,
Trust
uh,
me.
so uh, can trust be rebuilt after it's broken? Dr. Zaini, please.
Yes, it can be. Trust usually gets created with a consistency of behaviors in time. So I think everybody, when they go into a relationship, they don't trust. They have the willingness to trust. So if we don't have the willingness to trust, then we'll be always watching for the negative aspect and holding our heart back. And even if all is well, I'm going to keep looking for something for it to be wrong. And if I don't have the willingness to trust, I have to look at what's going on in my background, which has maybe scarred me. I've been traumatized by some things, so I've closed my heart and the possibility of people trusting people. So what it takes for a relationship is for me to have the willingness to trust. But the willingness does not create the trust. It's just the open door, is that I'm willing to see that if you say something, that what you said and what you behave within time, it comes through. So there's a consistency with time that builds the trust. Then there's something that happens that removes the trust or breaks the trust. We might feel betrayed. We might feel that someone, when they said something, when they committed themselves to something, their behavior did not come through. Their behavior showed something else. So this was a break into what they said and what they behaved. So therefore, if we can find out what the reasons were, and those reasons were convinced, not only logically but emotionally about what happened, and the person that is in front of us gets the impact of what their behavior was, so they can show us that they have some remorse, that they not only that they're apologizing and they get what happened and what the impact was, but they're also committed with a promise that they will shift their behavior to something else. And then that when they set up that commitment, then they continue with it, and then within time that trust can be built. If there's no commitment to shifting behaviors, or it's an empty promise or an empty commitment, so they'll say it but they actually won't do it, so that in time we see they're not coming through, and the trust will not be rebuilt.
Okay, amazing. And what about you, Doctor? Sorry, Coach Bunny.
Well, trust can be definitely rebuilt. Now, however, if we are in a relationship, relationships are not 50-50. They're 100% and 100%. So if I'm in a relationship, 100% of my energy, of my willingness, of my responsibility, then the question comes that what was my part in the partner breaking the trust? If I take responsibility for my actions, therefore my results, what happened? What happened inside of me? What happened through the relationship? What was the dynamic of the relationship that led to the breaking of the trust? So if I am responsible for my results, then instead of putting the finger outwards and blaming the partner that did the wrong behavior per se, we need to really go deep within ourselves first and find out how was I caught the results of this action that my partner did. How was I responsible for that? So a lot of deep work within ourselves. And then once we are unbiasedly and unjudgmentally go within and find answers that what happened within the relationship, because breaking the trust doesn't happen overnight. One person, let's say cheating, for example, one partner doesn't wake up one morning and decides that today is the day that I'm going to go and cheat. It happens through time. It happens through days, in weeks, in years of misunderstanding, miscommunication, not feeling validated. All of the negative emotions kind of built up to a point that the partner does something wrong. So it's not just the one-way street that the partner did something wrong and we're pointing fingers and blaming the other person. It's a lot of deep work within ourselves. And then once we get the answers within ourselves, then we turn the question to the partner. And if we are both really committed to the relationship and we are working and we are willing to work and get the deep answer from within each one of us, then trust can be rebuilt.
Dr. Zaini, are you agree or you want to add something or no?
I love the possibility that Bonnie said about us looking at where we are and what are we responsible for. I do agree that every one of us puts in a part to it that creates that result. So if a result within a relationship has been some sort of a betrayal or a mistrust, what part did I play into the result? I totally agree, and I love that concept. I just want to make sure that when people are listening to this, that they don't take, I'm talking to all the codependents here, do not
Mm-hmm.
take full responsibility when somebody else is doing that. Okay, I have a lot of people where, for example, one partner is doing the cheating and then they come in and say, well, it was your fault. And they don't take any kind of, uh, they don't take any responsibility for their breaking their commitment. I have people who come in and they're constantly lying. And when you say, how come you're lying? Well, because you can't handle it. You can't handle the truth. So I'm going to lie to you. Or because you're going to be pissed at me. So I have to lie. So it's just this, we really have to be conscious, because what Bonnie is saying is very delicate and is very important to know that it takes two people to be responsible. And so although so I shared the concept of responsibility of one person, and Bonnie took the responsibility of the other person. And I think combination of that is what is the truth of the matter. But the way that she was saying, I just wanted to make sure that people who are hearing it, they're not like, see, I told you I had the right to cheat because obviously it was your fault. So it's more like each person has to take the responsibility of how they created this result. And then
Absolutely.
therefore, as it moves forward, they're both committed to being responsible in how they're going to shift this relationship into a trusting relationship.
So the reason they
Absolutely.
don't tell the truth is fear, right? So, and they're scared to tell the truth. But if they enjoy one time, if they enjoy vulnerability and authenticity, in that time there is no more fear. I believe it. What do you think, Dr. Zaini, please?
I think that I think you're very accurate about vulnerability takes a lot of courage. And most people don't think that it takes that courage. They look at it as weakness,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't see how powerful it is when you put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
But it also has consequences. And that means that, for example, you have to be aware that when you are vulnerable, um, you have to take whatever it shows up. And it's okay. It's okay because this is the true you. So if you are vulnerable and share something, that you might lose the relationship, or you might, not have the same thing that you want. I think where lying comes around sometimes is that I want something, and I know that the other person will not be able to give it to me, but I attempt to manipulate. And the piece of the manipulation is the part that also the person in front of me might feel betrayed. But I also know that I'm manipulating because I think I'm going to pull one over someone.
Mm-hmm.
The act of lying itself, although it comes from a fear of I might be judged, I might be not get what I want, I might be punished. A lot of those pieces might be the background of where the fear comes, with which I lie. On the other hand, I gotta get that when I'm telling the truth and I'm putting myself out there, that I might also have to face that, yes, I might not get what I want. And yes, I might get punished. And all of those might be out there. And that I would be willing to be myself and put myself out there with the risk of that consequence. Because being authentic, being transparent has
Mm-hmm.
a bigger reward for me
Mm-hmm.
versus holding myself behind a wall. Well, I would always have to feel anxious about I'm going to be found out,
Coach
and
one, sorry, go ahead.
and just live on a kind of like an anxious mode all the time.
Mm. Now, Coach Bonnie, what's your opinion?
On lying, yes, of course. Everything that Dr. Zaidi said, I agree 100%. Lying is the first and the most important part of an intimate, breaking the intimate relationship. The trust that we talked about. When someone lies, they might lie because they're not comfortable with who they are themselves. They are afraid of being judged. Uh, they don't trust the partner enough to be truthful to them, and there is shame associated with lying too, that I don't want to reveal my authentic self to you. So yes, everything that Dr. Zaini said, I agree 100%.
What about vulnerability? If you want to be vulnerable and share the information, and you don't need to hide the information with your partner to build the intimate relationship. How important is this?
I think in order to be intimate, you do need to be vulnerable because that's the only way you can
Exactly.
create intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And intimacy gets created from inside of you, and you're the one who has to open your heart in
Mm-hmm.
order to feel the intimacy. And you have to create trust and safety for the other person in front of you to also feel the intimacy. So when you create that love and intimacy for someone, or openness for someone, then they will sit within that experience, and they will open up their guards and be vulnerable. You can always be vulnerable with someone else who's also vulnerable. If someone holds a guard, it's tougher to keep being open when somebody else is holding a guard. In order to open up that, so first we stop judging the other person, we come from an accepting place and open our heart, and no, that doesn't matter what they will say or judge, that it's their opinion and they have the right to their opinion, and I want to listen and I want to open that up. And that kind of openness also allows other people to be open with us, and that's how intimacy gets created, the connection, the closeness gets created.
Mm-hmm. And Coach Bunny?
I think vulnerability is the base of intimacy. And a lot of times when couples are vulnerable with each other, what happens when they get into an argument? There needs to be a commitment from both sides that when I'm vulnerable to you, don't use that against me when things are not that great between us. A lot of times I see in couples when someone shares something intimate and becomes vulnerable, then a week later when they have an argument, that topic comes up um, as a tool, that now I have something that I can belittle you, I can judge you, and I can use it against you. So that's detrimental to a happy relationship. So if two people are being vulnerable to each other, they also have to have very firm boundaries, and they have to have the commitment that there is no judgment and there is no use of this secret or whatever has been shared to be used against that person. So that's I think that's very important in two people feeling safe enough, trusting the other person to be vulnerable.
Right. And what does it mean to be interdependent? Dr. Zaini, please.
Um, First of all, I just want to tell you, Bonnie, that was actually very nicely said. I think that's just it's the death of intimacy when that happens. I really get
Yes.
that. Um, Interdependence is when each person, when Bonnie first said, like, the relationship is 100-100. It's not 50-50. So it's not like you are half a person and you depend on the other person to fulfill your half. It's each person is independent on the way they think, they feel, and they choose to behave, and what they really choose to put into a relationship. That's what each person is responsible for. And therefore, when two people are responsible for that and they come together, they are interdependent. They rely on each other as
Mm-hmm.
a gift, or as a someone, as support. Not that the need is there, that if you're not there, I can't be a whole. If you're not there, I can't live. It's more like we're both equally capable, and yet we choose to give each other the gift of support and love and service. Sometimes I'm just going to give you things. I'll bring you things,
Mm-hmm.
just because I love you, not because I have to, or as an obligation, or that you can't do it yourself. But I love to. So that's the beauty of the interdependence. Because if at any point, and it happens in everyone's life once in a while, that we really can't handle it and we need a support. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we want to know that the other person is strong enough that we can kind of like rely on them, and vice versa. That we are strong enough that they get the chance at times to rely on us, and that's where each person can work on themselves to be fully independent and not needy of the other person, as if you're not there, I can't live.
Uh, it was a few days ago when I started thinking about this topic. I made a list, I review different my notes and books, and I made a list of the keys, like a 10, 12 keys and secrets for to have a intimate relationships. If you want to mention five, uh, each one five, okay. Let's go with Dr. Zaini and see what's the five things is coming, five keys is coming to your mind. However, we mentioned about few of them, right? Just go with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this, please.
For intimacy, to create an intimate relationship,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
the first part is safety. We have to feel safe.
Security, safety, huh?
Well, safety and security are two different things. The
Oh,
second
two
one,
different things. Oh, okay.
yeah, one is
Good
the
to know.
safety of knowing that that I can be me and you can accept me as me.
Mm-hmm.
Security for me is more like I can be safe with you
Uh-huh.
in the different levels. The third one would be the willingness to be vulnerable and share myself, and the authenticity that needs to be there, and the heartfelt connection. For me to connect with you with my heart
Mm-hmm.
creates intimacy.
And Coach Bonnie, Sadigh,
Sure. Before I get to the 5 points, I just want to add something to interdependent in a relationship.
please.
Imagine two candles. We lit one and we lit the other. They both independently are burning and they each have a flame. Now, when you put these two candles, the flames together, the flame all of a sudden doubles in size. So that's interdependency. I am whole and complete by myself. My partner is whole and complete by himself. And together we bring the best out of one another.
Mm-hmm.
We give each other incentives, compassion, so that we can soar and be the best that we can be. So imagine the two separate flames, and then
Mm-hmm.
when they get together and they get bigger. Uh, five, five, 5 points in having a healthy, intimate relationship.
Before
Not
you mention
not
about the five, Coach Bonnie, before you mention about these fives, with this, things you mentioned, you remind me these things. Uh, it's not just giving, uh, giving and receiving, and I accept you. Whatever you are. I don't want to change you. I don't want to. I want to accept you, and I want to put full of myself for you, and should be equal, right? So, interesting. Uh, let's go with your fives, please.
I think communication is very important. Having boundaries are definitely on my top 5. Giving personal space to to the partner. Uh, Accepting them for who they are and not trying to change them. Accepting
Mm-hmm.
who they are, and spending quality time and really being open and vulnerable about your desires, your goals, and what you want personally, individually, and as a team, as a couple. I
Okay.
think that was 5.
Okay. It's beautiful. Dr. Zaini, if you want to review all these things, I know it's very timing, you are very short, but in 2 minutes, if you want to say very profound something about intimate relationship, please.
I think it's the most beautiful experience in the world and in a lifetime. So I really highly suggest it, definitely, that if someone is intending to be in a relationship, for them to really attempt to experience that type of intimacy. People live 30 years in a marriage together and don't feel that type of an intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we talk about, do you feel that you fell in love. People sometimes are completely in love, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not intimate with each other in as far as who they are and how they're putting out themselves in there. The other part of it that I would really suggest is to be intentional, that you know exactly what type of a relationship that you require and you want, and join with your partner in creating like a mission statement, a vision statement of what it is that you both want in a relationship, and get
Mm-hmm.
yourself aligned with it, and even define what the words such as trust, love, all of those, define for each other what that means to you when it comes into a behavioral concept. Like if we had an alien and said, these behaviors would be called trust or love. Talk about it. It's not just I want love. Well, what does
Mm-hmm.
love look like to you? What does it mean
Right.
to you?
Right.
Get
Right.
aligned with those, and then intend every minute that if you have a behavior, if you're communicating, if a word comes out of your mouth, if there's a body language that is sharing, that is toward the mission statement, that is toward the vision of the relationship you said you wanted. So if I say, I love you and I want a relationship with complete love, then every time I say something that belittles my husband, it's not that I'm practicing what I said I wanted to. So it gives us a actual gear in constantly checking that if I'm going to share something, I'm going to put something in the relationship, is really about what I said I wanted to. And if it doesn't, if what's going to come out of my mouth or what I do, it's not part of those, stuff that we said together and clean, don't do it. Keep
Mm-hmm.
your mouth shut. Shift yourself to create and be intentional in what you want to create, and having that alignment together.
Amazing. Amazing. Coach Bani Sadigh, please.
Beautifully said. I love intention. That the word has a lot of meaning. It's just when you really intentionally focus on your relationship, that is the time that magic happens. Because a lot of times when we're in a relationship for a long time, what happens over time, our relationship goes on autopilot. We take little things that once was really exciting for us for granted, and we each one of us get into our roles and live our days, and not intentionally putting effort into making the relationship magical again. And I think, as you said, I can't emphasize how intention is important in a relationship. When we are on autopilot, that's when the relationship gets stagnant and boring, and things kind of start falling apart. So yes, having an intention for making that relationship even thriving to even higher levels is very important. And another thing that I want to mention very quickly, which is a very, very big topic by itself, is the masculine and feminine energy in the relationship. We each one of us, and it has nothing to do with gender. Each one of us brings a dominant masculine or a feminine energy into the relationship. A lot of times when conflicts arise, it's because mostly two dominant masculine energies are in a relationship. So balancing your energies in a relationship, knowing when to have the masculine energy come out and when to have the feminine energy come out, I think it's another key to have that intimate, successful relationship. The balance between the energies is when we are thriving in that in a magical relationship.
Beautiful. We talk about the communication, but this is my last question. How much is important nonverbal communication?
There was a study, I think, that Dr. Sohrabi had, I don't remember the name of the researcher, but it said that 75% actually of the communication is nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
And, with a tweak of an eye or a roll of a, head, or what we do with our hands, or, the energy that we bring with our body, communicates a lot. And many times we're not really aware of how we're communicating and what it is that is being communicated beyond our words, the tonality that shows up with it creates all the context of that relationship. So it's very important to be clear, to be very like authentic with yourself, because when you are authentic with yourself and then you communicate, it all shows up together. But if you're not authentic and you have
Mm-hmm.
other thoughts and emotions that you're withholding, but then you're saying these other words, trust me, those other ones are also showing up. Like, it's not that they're not showing up. They're showing up and leaving a feeling for the other person. They might not necessarily know what it all means, but they do get the feeling of the yuck underneath it. And they don't trust you at that moment. They're kind of holding back. If they listen to your words, they might not necessarily know what it is. And we get that a lot with couples. Like, in communication, many times maybe we teach them exactly to use iMessages and how to, put the words well together so that it's not igniting anything. But then yet when the other person is angry inside, resentful, or they're not really clear with what's going on, it seems like no matter how much you teach them exactly how to put the sentences together, it still doesn't work, it doesn't land. So one of the ways that I always also say, if you're saying something and it doesn't land on people the way they want to, check inside, see who else was talking inside of you, which
Which,
also was loud
yeah,
and clear, but you didn't know that they were also loud and clear.
yeah, it comes from which part of you?
Yes.
And yeah, Coach Buddy, please.
Uh, Communication, yes. It's
verbal
interesting that
verbal communication, non-verbal. Sorry,
yes, the
non-verbal.
words that we speak, it's only 7% of the communication. 55% is our body language, and 35% is the tonality of our voice. So it's very important, even though the spoken words are also very important. Paying attention and having a rapport with your audience, with your partner, is extremely important. How they're sitting, having sensory acuity, and actually speaking with all of your five senses, not just your mouth, with all of your senses, seeing how the other person is reacting or responding to your spoken words, your tonality, as Dr. Zaini said. And also, when we think about communication, we mostly think about the person that is talking, is doing the communication. Uh, I want to bring another point into the communication, that is active listening, the importance of active listening. So when we are communicating, we are at least have two people in that communication. One is the one that is communicating, one is on the receiving end that is listening. Most times, I'm not saying always, but most often, when couples talk, the other person is uh, making rebuttal points in their head as to what I need to respond to, or how I need to talk, or what is my point, not listening to what is being said. So communication and active listening is actually listening with the intent to understand the communicator's point of view, not what you want to hear, not what you want to judge, not what it is that you want to believe it's being said, but really truly reading between the lines that what is being communicated to you, understanding with all of your five senses.
Right, said yesterday, I heard very something very very important. From people, they said, okay, we love to hear, I love you. We love to, see caring more than, hearing. We want to see caring. We want to see someone has attention, and I'm important for that person. In non-verbal communication, there is lots of things. I hope all of our audience they enjoy. Like me, I really enjoy talking with you. I promise. I said that's my last question. I have more questions. Hopefully, next time we can talk about this because. Relationship and everything about relationship gonna be our topics this month, and we are going with the different things about healthy and unhealthy relationship. Thank you so much. If you want to add something in 30 seconds, Dr. Zaini, please.
It was a joy to see both of you. I haven't seen Bonnie for almost a couple of years, and it was a joy to see her. And for everyone, I think that we're always in a relationship, whether we're in a relationship with ourselves or with other people. We're always in a relationship, and we need to be very intentional about how we actually handle our relationship.
Yes, and Coach Bonnie Sadigh.
Actually, the longest and the most intimate relationship we have is with ourselves. So loving ourselves comes first and foremost before getting into a relationship. So if we don't love ourselves, that may sound like a cliche, but if we don't love ourselves, then loving the other is not going to be as profound. So
I think it's not possible.
The foundation of everything. Yes,
Yeah,
it starts with self-love.
Yeah. Looks like they said, don't believe someone said I love you when that person he don't love himself or she don't love himself. Thank you so much for your time, and see you next time. Appreciate for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.